You're tuning into the deep dive because, well, you're looking to get a solid understanding of important topics quickly and thoroughly. Today, we're focusing on something really foundational, especially if you're looking to build something that, resonates. Customer discovery.
Exactly. We're talking about that initial crucial phase. It's where you move beyond just having a promising idea
Right.
to actually validating whether there's a real demand for it. It's kind of like putting on your detective hat before you even think about selling anything.
And it's just so critical, isn't it? We've all seen great sounding ideas just stumble and fall.
Oh, absolutely.
The data really backs this up too.
Yeah.
Failery's research shows that, a staggering 42% of startup failures boil down to no market need.
42%. It's huge.
42%. I mean, think of all the wasted effort when nobody actually wants what's being created.
It really underscores why this initial exploration is, well, non-negotiable. Our mission today really is to equip you with some concrete methods, some tools to make sure you're not part of that statistic. We want to help you rigorously test your assumptions by deeply understanding the people you hope will ultimately use or benefit from your work.
And crucially, it's not about convincing people they need what you're building, right? It's more about becoming an expert listener.
Precisely. You're trying to uncover the problems they're already grappling with.
Okay.
The workarounds they may be cobbled together.
Yeah.
And their genuine unmet needs.
Like being an anthropologist almost.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah, immersing yourself in the world of your potential customers. Your main objective is just to observe and truly understand their behaviors, their motivations. All while, and this is key, consciously setting aside your own preconceived notions about your brilliant idea.
Okay, let's get practical then. Where do we even start this detective work? Tool number one you mentioned, surveys.
Yeah, surveys, they offer a really efficient way to cast a broad net. You gather initial insights from a pretty significant number of people relatively quickly, relatively cheaply. They can help you spot early trends, maybe pinpoint common frustrations, and just gauge the general level of interest in the problem area you're looking into.
But we've all taken those surveys that just seem completely off target, or they're just a slog to get through. Feels like a badly designed survey could actually lead you down the wrong path.
Oh, absolutely. A survey that isn't well thought out can give you misleading data, which honestly can be more detrimental than having no information at all.
Right. Worse than useless.
Exactly. The trick is really in formulating the right questions in the most effective way.
So what makes a survey right? Any sort of actionable tips for doing this well?
Yeah, definitely. For starters, keep it focused and brief. Aim for around, say, 5 to maybe 10 questions, max.
Okay.
People's time is valuable, and online attention spans are, well, they're short.
Tell me about it.
Secondly, really concentrate on their actual behaviors and past experiences related to the problem. Don't ask directly about your proposed solution yet.
So instead of, would you use this cool new app?
Right. Try something more like, how often do you find yourself struggling with whatever the core problem is? Or, tell me about the last time you tried to achieve the outcome your product facilitates. This gives you a much clearer signal of the problem's real significance in their lives.
That's a great distinction. Understanding the pain before offering the aspirin. So how do you make sure these well-crafted surveys actually get in front of the right eyeballs?
Targeting. Absolutely key. You need to think carefully about where your ideal customers hang out online.
Makes sense.
Platforms like LinkedIn, invaluable for reaching professionals in specific industries. Reddit has tons of niche communities focused on almost every imaginable interest or problem.
Oh yeah, Reddit's a goldmine for that.
It really can be. And even, strategically placed paid ads on social media can help you target very specific demographics if you have a bit of budget.
And this isn't just theory, right? We know successful companies have used surveys effectively early on.
Totally. Take Slack, for example. When they were starting out, they didn't just assume the world needed another messaging platform.
Right.
They actively surveyed small teams, focusing on those struggling with, email overload. Their questions weren't about features of a potential product. They were laser focused on the frustrations, the lost productivity caused by drowning in email.
So validating the problem first.
Exactly. That helped them confirm the core problem they were actually trying to solve.
And the tools for this, they're pretty accessible now, aren't they? You don't need a massive budget.
Not at all. Things like Google Forms, Typeform, they offer free or low-cost, very intuitive ways to design and send out surveys. They even handle collecting the data and give you basic analysis tools. It's really accessible.
Okay, so surveys give you that wide initial picture.
Yeah.
But what if you need to go deeper? Understand the why behind those answers. That's where tool number 2 comes in. Interviews.
Precisely. Interviews let you shift gears from just gathering quantitative data, the numbers, to uncovering rich qualitative insights, the stories, the context. They give you that chance to have direct conversations, explore the underlying motivations, and really get the why behind those survey responses. It's about building a much deeper, more textured understanding.
And the mindset for these interviews. Totally different from a sales pitch, I imagine.
Oh, completely different. Your primary objective in a customer discovery interview is just to listen, actively listen.
Right.
You're not there to pitch your amazing idea. You're there purely to learn from them, to understand their world, their challenges.
Okay, so what are some key principles for running these interviews effectively?
Number 1, prioritize asking open-ended questions. Questions starting with things like tell me about, walk me through, or describe. Encourage people to share detailed experiences.
Instead of yes/no questions.
Exactly. Avoid those closed questions that just shut down the conversation. So instead of, do you find this process frustrating? You'd ask, tell me about the last time you dealt with this particular issue. See the difference.
Yeah, that subtle shift feels like it would unlock way more detail. What else?
Strive for neutrality. Your job is to facilitate, not to lead the witness, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Consciously avoid injecting your own opinions or even nodding too enthusiastically when they say something that confirms your biases. Let them steer. Let them share freely without feeling like they need to give you the right answer.
And we have another good example here, right? The early days of Dropbox.
Yes. Before Dropbox became, the giant it is today, the founders spent a lot of time just interviewing people about their frustrations with file storage and access across different computers. And through those deep conversations, they uncovered that critical, widespread pain point, the nightmare of keeping files synced seamlessly across devices. That core problem became their bullseye.
So how many interviews should someone aim for initially? Is there a magic number?
There's no hard magic number, but a good starting point is aiming for around 10 to 15 initial interviews.
Okay, 10 to 15.
Yeah. Even that relatively small number, if they're well conducted, can start to reveal significant recurring patterns and give you really valuable insights into those pressing needs and frustrations.
Any practical tips for managing these sessions? Making the most of them.
Definitely. Always ask for permission first, but recording the calls can be incredibly helpful.
Mm-hmm.
It frees you up to be fully present in the conversation, not frantically trying to scribble down every word. Then you can revisit the recording later to catch nuances.
Good point.
And also, block out maybe 15 minutes immediately after each interview just to jot down your key takeaways, any powerful quotes, interesting observations, while it's still fresh.
Right, capture it immediately. Okay, so we've got surveys for breadth, interviews for depth. Now, tool number 3, which I find really fascinating, the jobs to be done theory.
JTBD.
Yes, jobs to be done, or JTBD. It offers a really powerful lens for understanding customer needs instead of just focusing on the features customers say they want.
It shifts our focus to the fundamental job that customers are trying to get done when they hire a product or service.
Hiring a product.
Yeah.
I like that framing. It's thought-provoking. Can you elaborate on that?
Sure. The core idea is that people don't just buy products for their features in a vacuum. They are, in essence, hiring those products to solve a specific problem or achieve a particular goal in their lives or work.
Right.
This theory pushes us to look beyond the surface desires and really dig into the underlying motivations, the core needs driving their behavior.
And there's that classic Milkshake example that illustrates this really well, isn't there? I think I've heard this one.
Yes, the famous Milkshake example. So a fast food chain wanted to boost morning milkshake sales. Their initial thinking might have been about, new flavors, better taste, maybe positioning it as a breakfast item.
Standard step.
Right. But applying JTBD thinking, they actually went out and observed commuters. They discovered people were hiring the milkshake for a very specific job to provide a relatively tidy, long-lasting way to fight off hunger and boredom during their long, often dull morning commutes.
So it wasn't about the taste primarily.
Not primarily in that context. It was about its functional role. It was thick, took a while to drink through a straw, kept them occupied, filled them up. It made the drive more bearable. The job was make my commute less awful.
Wow, that totally reframes how you'd think about improving or marketing the milkshake for that specific time slot, doesn't it?
Completely.
So how can someone listening apply this JTBD thinking to their own startup idea?
Okay, a few key steps. First, really try to nail down the core job your potential customer needs to get done. Ask questions like, what's the main task they're trying to accomplish, or what's their desired outcome, or what fundamental problem are they trying to solve? So for instance, if you're building a productivity app, the job might not just be manage tasks. It might be something deeper, like feel more in control of my workload, or maybe even feel less stressed about deadlines.
Okay, that makes sense. Focus on the ultimate outcome, the feeling, not just the function. What's next?
Next, identify the real competition and think broadly here. What are customers currently hiring to get that same underlying job done?
Right, not just direct competitors.
Exactly. It could be other apps, sure, but it could also be spreadsheets, manual processes, sticky notes, asking a colleague, or even doing nothing and just suffering through the problem.
Ah, inertia as a competitor.
Absolutely. Understanding these existing hires and their flaws gives you crucial context. And finally, you need to design your solution for the outcome. Focus on how your product specifically helps the customer achieve their definition of success for that job. What does job done well look like to them?
And this JTBD lens, it can really lead to a major pivot sometimes, can't it? Going back to that productivity app, if the job is feel less stressed, the features you build, the way you talk about it, that might be totally different than if the job was just manage tasks.
Precisely. It can uncover these surprising insights and help you differentiate in a much more meaningful way because you're tapping into those fundamental, often unspoken needs.
Okay, so now we have these three powerful tools. Surveys for broad data, interviews for deep understanding, and JTBD for framing the underlying need. How do they all fit together? How do we integrate them?
Yeah, the key is seeing them as complementary, not separate silos, and using them iteratively.
Iteratively, okay.
You might start with a broad survey to maybe identify key customer segments and get a feel for their main pain points. Then you follow up with interviews with people from those segments to really dig into the why behind the survey data. And finally, you can layer the JobsToBeDone framework over all those insights to really refine your understanding of the core problem you're solving from the customer's perspective.
So it's not like a linear one-time process, more like a cycle.
Absolutely. Customer discovery is an iterative cycle. You test your assumptions, you learn from customers, you refine your understanding, maybe you refine your product idea, and then you repeat. You test again. It's about continuous learning and being willing, even eager, to adapt based on what you find out.
And we have that great real-world example of this iterative process. The founder who started with a fitness app.
Yes, perfect illustration. This founder initially built a fitness tracking app, assuming people primarily wanted to log workouts, count reps, that sort of thing.
Makes sense on the surface.
Right. But through actually talking to potential users, doing those interviews, listening, they discovered many people were actually more concerned about overall well-being, and specifically sleep quality was a much higher priority for them than just tracking exercise.
Interesting. Sleep over workouts.
Yeah. That crucial insight, born from listening, led to a fundamental pivot. They shifted focus to building a comprehensive wellness tracker where sleep monitoring and improvement became central features.
Wow. That's a really powerful example of how not being rigidly attached to your first idea, but letting discovery guide you can completely change the game.
Absolutely.
Okay, so for someone listening right now, maybe with an idea bubbling away, what's one concrete, actionable next step they can take, like today or tomorrow?
Okay, here's a very doable first step. Grab a notebook, open a doc, whatever. Spend the next 15 minutes drafting just 5 open-ended survey questions focused on the core problem you think you're solving.
Just 5 questions.
Just 5. Then identify 5 people in your network, friends, colleagues, LinkedIn contacts who you genuinely think might fit your target audience profile. Reach out and simply ask if they'd be willing to chat informally for maybe 15 minutes.
5 questions, 5 people. Feels very manageable. And the goal of those initial chats isn't to sell them, right?
Not at all. Remember Steve Blank's famous advice? Get out of the building. Your only goal initially is to listen. Listen intently. Learn as much as you possibly can. Understand their experiences, their frustrations, what they're doing now or not doing about the problem you're interested in.
So customer discovery. Yeah, maybe not always the most glamorous part of creating something new.
Definitely not always glamorous.
But it really sounds like it's the absolute foundation for success. The difference between building something you hope people want versus building something they genuinely need and will use.
Exactly. At the end of the day, it all comes back to truly understanding that core job your idea is trying to fulfill in someone's life.
That gives us a lot to think about. Thanks so much for taking this deep dive into customer discovery with us.
My pleasure.
And for everyone listening, until our next exploration, keep asking those crucial questions.